Hello everybody, what is up? Cobra here, back with another painted review of some of my Great War 1914 pieces. Today's kind of an oddball because it's a kind of expansion set slash alternate history set for my map. Now, there's a book series by the author Harry Turtledove, and he is known for making a lot of kind of wacky but also cool alternate history novels, and so one of them that was particularly interesting to me and also saw a lot of interest on the Axis and Allies Facebook page is the 1914 Southern Victory series. Basically, how that works is it's a series of books that basically says that what if the Confederacy won the U.S. Civil War and became its own little power on the American continent. And the books cover from the end of the Civil War all the way up to the 1980s or something like that. But one of the more interesting areas that I like is the dynamic that it creates with 1914. So, because of that, I have painted up some Confederacy units, or some Confederate infantry and armor and all that kind of stuff. So, I've got my own box for it and everything. So let's get into what they look like. So first up, we'll go into infantry. Now, I have shown off some of the infantry in the past, but just another look at it. Nowadays, we've got just kind of what you might imagine from Confederate infantry, so a lot of these guys with like kepes and stuff. A lot of them are from I think it's a U.S. Civil War Confederate box, or a Union box, but it works for 1914. A lot of, armies had, a lot of kind of kepes and stuff like that, so I could imagine that the Confederacy might have kept some of that stuff going. And we have some other unit variations. So here, these are some 1914 Anzac Infantry, but I thought they made pretty nice looking Confederates with, like the kind of cowboy type hats. So kind of like an iconic piece of Southern apparel. So yeah, that is the infantry. There's loads more, but they're just infantry. You'll see them over the years as I have gameplay videos of my 1914 game. Next up, we have the Confederate Air Force. Kind of simplistic, but, gray. It's got this dark navy blue topper. And then for roundels, we just went with like a little red circle with blue stripes. I didn't feel like attempting any stars on these. And was debating on some decals, maybe in the future, but it's kind of expensive, and for something that will only be played a few times here and there, I don't really need a lot of. I don't want to use a lot of money to kind of populate the ranks of these guys when they're not going to be seeing a lot. But yeah, here we have a Zeppelin, and that concludes the air power. Next up, we have land forces. A lot of these you may have seen in the past, but now we have a different camouflage scheme, so, a lot of these are all 3D printed units, either designed by me or found on Thingiverse. Here we have a very nice looking Liberty tank. I kind of, in choosing units, went with, wherever I could, I tried to choose units that may have kind of become Southern kind of staple units in the world that this would exist in. So stuff like the bombers kind of look like American bombers of World War I. So I could imagine that the South would be building stuff similar to that. Here we have some artillery. These were sent in as a prize by somebody on the Axis and Allies Facebook page. I'm not sure what game they're from, but they're very nice. They're kind of interesting and different, so I decided to keep them for my Confederacy, just to give them some kind of different units, different variations of units. And speaking of that, this came in that same prize. Again, I'm not sure what game this is from, but it's a very weird, kind of simplistic looking British style, like Rhomboid Tank. But at the same time, I kind of like it because it takes the theme of, a World War I tank being like the rhomboid style track setup, but it's a lot different, with its really angular look. So I thought it's a cool little addition. The fact that, the Confederates might have built something like that. It kind of almost looks like a U.S. skeleton tank from World War I, only with all the panels put onto it. So Yeah, we got an armored train. Train combat would definitely play a big role when playing this expansion. There's a couple railroad guns and armored trains that start the game on the U.S. and Confederate side because of all the rails that exist in North America. Here we just have an armored car. And I think that's just about it for land units. Yeah. So, lastly, we have some naval units. We're flying through these today. Here we have the North Carolina class battleship. You know, I just kind of threw together what pieces I had, but I really like this thing. It's one of the best looking historical board gaming sculpts, like in terms of plastic, because you can point out it's got multiple pieces that are kind of inserted into each other. But for a plastic piece, you know, you've got these lifeboats. You can see all the anti-aircraft guns and everything. These like raised decks and everything. A very nice looking ship. And for the naval units, I was kind of proud of myself for finding a cool looking pattern, and basically it's based off of real life, where I found a lot of Confederate ironclads either were painted. I don't know if it was either painted, stained, or the color of wood they used, wherever wood was used on like the sides and the superstructures, were probably painted or coated in some kind of dark red paint or primer, and then the top decks were this kind of lighter color. But so basically the cool thing I like about these ships is the fact that they kind of look like they may have looked if, you know, the Confederacy was, you know, making these naval units, because it's kind of low. It's not like super bright or anything, so kind of realistic in that sense. Here we have some monitors. That was a cruiser I just showed off. It's one of the original Axis and Allies battleships that I just threw in as a cruiser. Pre-dreadnought. Another nice looking piece that I designed. Some destroyers, simple, just Japanese World War II destroyers. Submarines. Again, kind of went historical. That dark blue with the red sides was actually the Confederacy. You know, funny enough, you know, in the Civil War actually did have submarines, so that was how they painted them, which I thought was pretty cool. And then I guess we've got transports, just some original Axis and Allies American transports. And finally, just in case, we've got a carrier, like usual. And yeah, that pretty much concludes this quick little look at my Confederate units for 1914. And who knows, I may even, if I get a Civil War game, use some of these in a Civil War game. You know, all these infantry I feel could work pretty well with that. And so yeah, it's kind of diverse. So hope to see you guys again, and I hope you like this quick little review of my Confederate infantry. And comment down below if you have any other nations you would like to see presented next in future videos, and I hope to see you guys again. Cobra, out.